Hello YouTube, hello world. Shout out to all those who have subscribed to my channels, the Clever Sausage channel, all 50 of you. Kudos to you, you're much appreciated. That tells me that you enjoyed some of what I put up there. And also kudos to those 7 who joined my Real Truth Congregation channel. I changed the name because I didn't realise. I changed it from the Real TV, the Real Truth TV, because I found that there was 100 other Real Truth TVs out there. One was on relationships, dating, all that sort of stuff. The other one was like some ministry claiming to be teaching the real truth, and so forth, right? So I thought, well, you know, when you're looking for me, because you've heard about me, you know, and how great my videos are, how informative they are, that I'm revealing the real truth to you, you might end up on somebody else's Real Truth TV. So I changed it to, because I registered as a minister years ago in congregation. I've been playing around with the name for a while there. So I decided to change the channel name to the Real Truth Congregation, because if I start a congregation here in New Zealand, coming soon, that's what it'll be called, because I'm exposing all the hype, the huff and the fluff, all the BS out there that's been told you by churches, cults, Christian organisations and Christians themselves. Yeah, okay. By going back to the supposedly original manuscripts, preserved, hidden and preserved in the languages that they were originally written in by the OT apostles, scribes, theologians, and also the Aramaic, Galilean Aramaic New Testament, okay, translated by Victor Alexander, and the Syriac Peshitta by Angel Gabriel Roth. Okay, so today I'm looking at this controversial book, because many atheists I come across say, oh, you know, there's no God, God never existed, it's all rubbish, it's all a myth. This theory, Charles Darwin's theory about we were all from one ape, jumped down from the tree, lost our tail, stood upright, and all that sort of stuff, is true. It's a scientific fact. It's a theory, but it's fact. Okay, so I'm looking at the book, 105th anniversary edition of The Origin of Species, where it supposedly all began. Okay, I have my little bits and pieces that I've picked up along the way. It's either fact or fiction, isn't it? Okay, what other people on the internet say, because what 98% of what you get on the internet is either a scam or it's misinformation, stuff like that, right? So get to the point here. We're reading the book, The Origin of Species, 150th anniversary edition, because I found it on one of my USB sticks. Okay, so it's about time I read it. Yeah, go on this side to scroll it down, might help. Okay, this is oh gosh, it's introduction by Ray Comfort. Okay, should have seen that one coming. Okay, the two sides of the coin, right? Ray Comfort might have an edge. The Origin of Species, 150th anniversary edition. There's the offender there. Charles Darwin, once a believer to an atheist apparently. Charles Darwin, special introduction by Ray Comfort. Yeah, I don't know if I've covered a video on Ray Comfort. I probably will in the future, because he uses a certain method which I think in the eyes of the law would be classed as entrapment, if you have watched any of his videos. And also Kurt Cameron, his boy, yeah, that he's teamed up with, yeah, they use a certain method to trap people, okay, or entrapment. Okay, so Bridge Logos, Aluka, Florida, USA, The Origins of Species, copyright 2009 by Bridge Logos, printed in the United States of America. Here's some quotes here. A fair result can be obtained only by fully stating and balancing the facts and arguments on both sides of each question. Yeah, two sides of the coin. Charles Darwin, Introduction to Origin of Species, 1859. Teachers and students should have the academic freedom to discuss both the strengths and weaknesses of evolution as a scientific theory. As a scientific theory. Okay, get that? Scientific theory. 84% of college graduates agree. 2009 Zogby International Survey of Likely Voters. Likely voters for what? Education, you know, means broadening, advancing, and if you limit a teacher to only one side of anything, the whole country will eventually have only one thought, be one individual. I believe in teaching every aspect of every problem or theory. John T. Scopes, 1925, at a banquet in New York prior to the Scopes monkey trial. Oh, that might be interesting. Might have a look at that one, do a video on that later on. As we know, there is a great divergence of opinion among biologists because the evidence is unsatisfactory and does not permit any certain conclusion. It is therefore right and proper to draw the attention of the non-scientific public to the disagreements about evolution. But some recent remarks of evolutionists show that they think this is unreasonable. The situation where scientific men rally to the defense of a doctrine they are unable to define scientifically, much less demonstrate with scientific rigor, attempting to maintain its credit with the public by the suppression of criticism and the elimination of difficulties, is abnormal and unwise in science. Professor W. R. Thompson, FRS, Introduction to Origin of Species, 1956. Okay. Right. Next one. We're there. Okay, here's the content. Special introduction. Chapter 1, Variation under Domestication. Chapter 2, Variation under Nature. Chapter 3, Struggle for Existence. Chapter 4, Natural Selection. Chapter 5, Laws of Variation. Chapter 6, Difficulties of Theory. Chapter 7, Instinct. Chapter 8, Hybridism. Chapter 9, on the imperfection of the geological record. Chapter 10, on the geological succession of organic beings. And there's many more there. Okay. There's a picture of Charles Darwin in his day. Kind of looks like Irving Finkelstein. Yeah. Most Jewish rabbis. Rabbi Friedman, etc. Okay. Special introduction. This might be the Ray Comfort introduction. The history of Charles Darwin. Charles Robert Darwin was born on February 12, 1809 in Shrewsbury, England. Okay, so he's an Englishman. He was the fifth of 6 children born into a wealthy professional family. His father and grandfather were both doctors, and his mother was the daughter of Josiah Wedgwood of pottery fame. Okay, never heard of him. When he was 8 years old, his mother died. His father sent him to an Anglican boarding school until he was age 16, but young Charles showed less interest in studying than in hunting, natural history and scientific experimentation. In 1825 he enrolled at Edinburgh University. Darwin's father expected him to go into medicine, and although he entered Edinburgh University to pursue a medical degree, just grab some water because I'm coughing a lot. Okay, no, it's not the COVID. Just you've been around people that are smokers, yeah, and they tend to smoke in their room and like, yeah, don't hear it out, and you walk in there, you know. In 1825 he enrolled at Edinburgh University. Okay, wait. Yeah. Okay. His father sent him to an Anglican boarding school until he was age 16, but young Charles showed less interest in studying and in hunting, natural history and scientific experimentation. In 1825 he enrolled at Edinburgh University. Darwin's father expected him to go into medicine, and although he entered Edinburgh University to pursue a medical degree, he found he couldn't stand the sight of blood and left after 2 years. He then transferred to Cambridge, Christ College, to study for the ministry. As a clergyman, he would have the free time to follow his real intellectual love, natural history. Darwin was a passionate student of nature, and while in school he amassed a considerable beetle collection as well as other specimens. Yeah, not John, Paul and Ringo, the other kind of beetle. After befriending botany professor Reverend John Stevens Henslow, his interest in zoology and geography grew. At age 22, Darwin was presented with an opportunity that would change his life. Henslow recommended him for a position on a British Navy survey vessel, the HMS Beagle, which was about to sail on a 2-year coastal survey expedition to South America. The captain was anxious to have a naturalist and gentleman. That's a naturalist, it's like, you know, to do with nature, and there's not a nudist. Okay, and gentleman companion on board, and Charles readily agreed. Yeah, So Charles Darwin wasn't a nudist. Didn't go to nudist camps. Okay. Is that his picture of him and his sister there, I think? A young Charles Darwin. The voyage ended up lasting nearly 5 years, during which time Darwin was able to explore extensively in South America and numerous islands in the Pacific Ocean, including the Galapagos Islands. On returning to England in 1836, Darwin set to work examining and disseminating the extensive collection of specimens he acquired during the voyage. He quickly established a reputation as an accomplished naturalist on the London scene. In 1839, he married his cousin Emma Wedgwood. That same year, he published his journal of the voyage of the Beagle, which brought him immediate celebrity among London's intellectual celebrity status. In 1842, he and Emma moved to Down House in Kent. It was there that she bore 10 children. Wow! And she and Charles spent the rest of their lives. Okay. So in 1839, he married his cousin. Okay. I'd say she's probably second or third or fourth, something like that. Probably distant. I wouldn't go as far as saying that he married his first cousin. Well, yeah, go do your research. Dig for that. See if you can find it. Okay. I think she died. Oh, mess up. I think she died sometime later. Okay. During his great adventures as a Beagle's naturalist, Darwin had studied certain aspects of the morphology and biogeography of the many species of plants and animals that he had observed. He eventually concluded that species exhibited varying degrees of similarity because they were to varying degrees related. It appears that by 1883 his concept of descent with modification by the mechanism of natural selection was largely formed. Although Darwin is the most familiar name associated with evolution, he was only persuaded to publish his work when he learned that another young naturalist, Alfred Russel Wallace, who they claim that he plagiarised all from. Okay, go do your research on that. And I don't think the guy was black. I'm not really sure. Okay, go do your research on that again. Find the facts, establish the facts, was bring forth the evidence. Okay, was developing ideas about the evolution of species similar to his own. In 1858, at the urging of friends, he prepared a brief paper which was read before the Royal Society along with the paper Wallace had written. The following year he published on the origin of species, which he considered an abstract of a larger future work. During the remainder of his life, Charles Darwin continued his research, publishing 3 additional books on explicitly evolutionary topics and other books on topics including climbing plants, insect orchid mutualisms, is that something to do with mutation, and earthworms. At the age of 73, Charles Darwin died at Darwin House on April 19, 1882 with his wife Emma by his side. Okay, I'm pretty sure, because I think some Christians out there that say upon his deathbed he renounced that he was an atheist or something, right, and he turned to Christ. But apparently his wife, who was there, right, at his deathbed, said no, he didn't. Okay, Charles Darwin and his son William, Emma Darwin, pretty looking lady for the times, I suppose. Okay, Charles Darwin and his son William, Emma Darwin, his wife. Okay, here's the timeline of Darwin's life. Okay. Interesting. Basically what I covered, I think. 1844, Charles pens an essay on evolution by natural selection. He tells his wife to have it published in the event of his death, saying, "If I have just finished my sketch of my species theory. If, as I believe," his parenthesis here because they're not too sure what he wrote, what he actually said. If this is actually part of it, my theory is true. If, as I believe, my theory is true, and if it be accepted even by one competent judge, it will be a considerable step in science. He writes to botanist Joseph Hooker, telling him about his evolutionary ideas, saying it's like confessing a murder. Okay, his first daughter dies at the age of 10, continues to develop his theory, consulting others, naturalists, observation experiments, blah 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 blah. Begins his work in 1856 on the origin of species. 1858, Darwin receives a letter from Alfred Russel Wallace. Wallace is a young naturalist who has independently arrived at an almost identical theory of natural selection. Both Darwin and Wallace in 1858 have their theories presented to the Linnaean Society on July 1. 1859, Charles Darwin publishes On the Origin of Species. 1871, Darwin's The Descent of Man is published, applying his theories of evolution to human beings. 1882, Charles Darwin dies and is buried in Westminster Abbey. Okay, Darwin's religious belief. Okay, is this Ray Comfort's perspective research? Okay, if this is Ray Comfort's introduction, as it says in the beginning of the book, introduction by Ray Comfort. Darwin's religious belief. Darwin's work has helped fuel intense debates about religion and science then and now, so it's worthwhile to consider what his own religious beliefs were. Just as his theory has influenced people's views about God, his view of God has helped to share his theory. Many will be surprised to learn that as a young boy, Charles Darwin attended church with his mother and received religious training at a Church of England boarding school. Darwin even attended Cambridge to study for the ministry, saying that he did not then in the least doubt the strict and literal truth of every word in the Bible. He wrote in his autobiography that he was at one point led by, quote, the firm conviction of the existence of God and of the immortality of the soul, unquote, believing that, quote, there is more in man than the mere breath of his body, unquote. Darwin recalled that at the time of writing On the Origin of Species, he was convinced of the existence of God as an intelligent first cause and deserved to be called a theist. However, his views would begin to change while on board the Beagle, and by the time he returned to England in 1836, he had come to view, here's the Beagle there, HMS Beagle, God as a revengeful tyrant. I wonder why is that? What was it that changed his views? Well, I could answer that. I've covered this in a previous video, because the King James Version, etc., okay, was mistranslated from the old Aramaic Hebrew text. Okay, so this is fuel for atheists, trolls, whatever, that God was a tyrant, he did this, he did that, because of their mistranslation, okay, of the original scriptures. Okay. During the voyage, he had ample opportunity to see the cruelties of slavery and wondered how God could allow such humanity to exist. This is what a lot of these trolls, atheists, haters point at. Okay. He also could not have no problem with them. I'm just pointing out how they've come across to me. Right? I can see how they talk and their reaction and what comes out of their mouth, whatever. Okay. He also could not accept that a kind God would allow men to live in such a wretched state as the natives of Tierra del Fuego. Is that like the land of fire? Fuego? Oh, Spanish ain't too great these days. The issue of why God would allow such suffering in the world was an internal conflict that Darwin could not resolve. Yes, it continues to this day. Different people doing the same thing. He recorded the thoughts he struggled with. A being so powerful and so full of knowledge as a God who could create the universe is to our finite minds omnipotent and omniscient, and it revolts our understanding to suppose that his benevolence is not unbounded. This very old argument from the existence of suffering against the existence of an intelligent first cause seems to me a strong one. Okay, as I said, many other people voiced that same opinion, that he was a tyrant, he did this, he did that, according to the Bible. Yeah, they've read it 25 times, but they haven't actually read it deep enough. They haven't done the research to fully understand where it's coming from, right? What it actually says in the original languages used, the Aramaic and the Hebrew. Okay, let's go Aramaic, right? In the original Aramaic, Assyrian Aramaic, Ashur, whatever, right? Yeah. The issue of suffering was that one that Darwin faced personally, with the death of his beloved 10-year-old daughter. That's no good for any parent. Annie in 1851. This tragedy would deal a crushing blow, for sure, to his religious beliefs, or to his personal life. This tragedy would deal a crushing blow to his religious beliefs as Darwin deliberated about the Christian meaning of mortality and lost all faith in the beneficent God. For that reason, I do know somebody, close family, that lost his dogs and then lost his parent, and he says, why did God take them away? And didn't like God after that. Okay, he continued to give support. Yeah, Darwin deliberated about the Christian meaning of mortality and lost all faith in the beneficent God. Beneficent God. He continued to give support to the local church and help with parish work, but on Sundays would go for a walk while his family attended church. Darwin therefore reasoned that death and suffering were integral to the operation of the world and had always existed. Like Buddhism, as part of the world, you've got to suffer, and then someone saying no, there's no need for suffering. In a letter to American botanist Asa Gray in 1860, Darwin still acknowledged that God was the ultimate lawgiver, but he could not see an omnipotent deity in all the pain and suffering in the world. Okay, and this is what he supposedly said. I had no intention to write atheistically, but I own that I cannot see as plainly as others do, and as I should wish to do, evidence of design and beneficence on all sides of us. So, could it be that psychologically, because of the great loss of his daughter, that's what basically killed his faith in God, belief in God. Okay. Yeah, because it's a hell of a drug, man. It's a hell of a thing to lose a child. The parent should die before, the parent should be buried by the child, not the child by the parent. Again, I had no intention to write atheistically, but I own that I cannot see as plainly as others do. See, he's admitting that he cannot see as plainly as others do, and should wish to do. And as I should wish to do. See, so he wanted to, right? He had no intention to write atheistically, but I own that I cannot see as plainly as others do. He's admitting to it. And as I should wish to do, wish he could. Evidence of design and beneficence on all sides of us. There seems to be too much misery in the world. On the other hand, I cannot anyhow be contented to view this wonderful universe, and especially the nature of man, and to conclude that everything is a result of brute force. I am inclined to look at everything as resulting from designed laws, with the details, whether good or bad, left to the working out of what we may call chance. As he developed his theory of origins by purely natural means, he grew further from the biblical concept of a creator and seed of his religious views. I am sorry to inform you that I do not believe in the Bible as a divine revelation, and therefore not in Jesus Christ and the Son of God. Okay. He came to think that the religious instinct had evolved with society, and eventually concluded, for myself, I do not believe that there ever has been any revelation. As for a future life, every man must judge for himself between conflicting vague probabilities. While in his later years Darwin was not religious to any extent, he never entirely discounted the existence of God, but gradually became agnostic. Okay, so let's say here, while in his later years Darwin was not religious to any extent, but he never entirely discounted the existence of God, but gradually became agnostic. In my most extreme fluctuations, I have never been an atheist. In the sense of denying the existence of a God. I think that generally, and more as I grow older, but not always, that an agnostic would be the more correct description of my state of mind. His state of mind. So he considered himself an agnostic, not an atheist. Yeah, there's a statue of him sitting outside, pondering, I guess. Who's that? A statue of Charles Darwin in the Natural History Museum in London. Wow, what a wicked statue, excellent statue. Yeah, really well done. Okay. Okay. Despite Darwin's rejection of Christianity, he is buried in the famous Christian church, Westminster Abbey, close to Sir Isaac Newton. Was Isaac Newton really a Christian? Is it saying that he was? The DNA code. Darwin's theory of evolution is not without its difficulties. Even 150 years later, scientists have yet to supply adequate answers to what critics claim and Darwin himself admitted are weaknesses of the theory. Following are some of the areas of continued controversy. The DNA that defines every aspect of our bodies is incredibly complex, but in its simplest terms it can be described as a book composed of only 4 letters. To liken DNA to a book, however, is really a gross understatement. The amount of information in 3 billion base pairs in the DNA in every human cell is equivalent to that in 1,000 books of encyclopedia size. It would take a person typing 60 words per minute, 8 hours a day, around 50 years to type the human genome. And if all the DNA in your body's 100 trillion cells was put end to end, it would reach to the sun 90 million miles away and back over 600 times. Aside from the immense volume of information that your DNA contains, consider the likelihood of all the interrelated parts of this book coming together by sheer chance. And he goes on. Okay. Critics claim that it would be comparable to believing that this publication happened by accident. Imagine that there was nothing. Okay. Then paper appeared. So something came from nothing because paper appeared, and for it to exist it had to become something. Okay. And be seen. And ink also. Ink fell from nowhere onto the flat sheets and shaped itself into perfectly formed letters of the English alphabet. Initially the letters said something like this. Looks like somebody swearing at me. Yeah. It looks like dumb. That looks like the F word. That looks like dumb. Duh. Stupid. You know. As you can see, random letters really produce words that make sense, but in time mindless chance form them into the order of meaningful words with spaces between them. Periods, commas, capitals, italics, quotes, paragraphs, margins, etc. also came into being in the correct placements. The sentences then grouped themselves to relate to each other, giving them coherence. Page numbers fell in sequence at the right places, and headers, footers, and footnotes appeared from nowhere on the pages, matching the portions of text to which they related. Okay, the paper trimmed itself and bound itself into a book. The ink for the cover fell from different directions, being careful not to incorrectly mingle with the other colours, forming itself into the graphics of Charles Darwin entitled. There are multiple copies of this publication, so then it developed the ability to replicate itself thousands of times over. Physical chemist Charles Thaxton writes, the DNA code is quite simple in its basic structure, although enormously complex in its functioning. By now most people are familiar with the double helix structure of the DNA molecule. It is like a long ladder, twisted into a spiral. Sugar and phosphate molecules form the sides of the ladder. 4 bases make up its rungs. These are adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Okay. These base acts as the letters of a genetic alphabet. They combine in various sequences to form words, sentences, and paragraphs. These base sequences are all. It goes on and on and on. The DNA code is the genetic language that communicates information to the cell. The DNA molecule is exquisitely complex and extremely precise. The letters must be a very exact sequence. And it goes on more and more here. Okay. Goes on about DNA. Okay, DNA similarities. One typical proof cited for Darwinian evolution is that chimpanzees and humans have very similar DNA. What about the pig? In previous DNA studies based on only portions of the chimp genome, scientists announced that humans and chimps were 98 to 99% identical, depending on what was counted. After completing the mapping of the chimp genome in 2005, scientists are hailing the result as the most dramatic confirmation yet that chimps and humans have common ancestry. Though the complete genomes have yet to be compared, several studies found similarities as low as 86%. Yeah, I reckon we have something in common with these animals, right? We have the animal instinct, the beastie instinct, right? We're a natural man, we're not of God, we've got the spirit of God. Yeah, so we're the Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, beastie, nasty Neanderthal man, right? We're the hybrid. We've got that in us. Okay, it's passed down to us because of the interbreeding of the Neanderthal man with the humanoid way back, right? In Adam and Eve's days, and so on. Okay, And it goes on more about it. Some critics also question the scientific basis for assuming that similar DNA indicates a common ancestor, just as a biplane and a jet share common features of wings, body, tyres, engine, controls, etc. They argue it does not require that one must have. Is that his room? Damn, what a... See, I've got a book collection out in the shed just like that, but I think he's got more. Well, he's got a better bookshelf anyway, but I'll probably have about the same amount. These look like dictionary set, Funkin' Wagner, maybe something like that, something similar to that. Okay, Charles Darwin study room. Yeah, pretty nice. Victorian age. Okay, it's probably only drawing, but yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay, some critics also question the scientific basis for assuming that similar DNA indicates a common ancestor, just as a biplane and the jet share common features of wings, bodies, tyres, engine, controls, etc. They argue it does not require that one must have evolved from the other naturally without a maker. They argue it's more reasonable to conclude that similar design indicates a common intelligent designer. An architect typically uses similar building materials for numerous buildings, and a car manufacturer commonly uses the same parts in various models. So if creation has a common designer, we could expect to find a similar blueprint used in many different creatures. Okay, yeah, you get that? Okay. If creation had a common designer, we could expect to find a similar blueprint used in many different creatures. Since DNA is the coding for the way our bodies look and operate, some reason that creatures with similar features or body functions, eyes for vision, enzymes for digestion, etc., would have similar coding for these things in their DNA. Because human cells have the same biochemical functions as many different animals and even plants, we share many of the same genes. The more functions we have in common, the more we find similar coding in the blueprints. So while evolution states that similar DNA is proof of common ancestry, opponents interpret the same evidence as proof of a common designer. The challenge is to prove scientifically which is true. To the question of whether sharing 96% of our genetic makeup with chimps makes us 96% chimp, well, that's interesting. To the question of whether sharing 96% of our genetic makeup with chimps makes us 96% chimp, evolutionist Stephen Jones, a renowned British geneticist, humorously commented, "Yeah, there's sense of humour. We also share about 50% of our DNA with bananas, and that doesn't make us half bananas." That's exactly what I was thinking. You know, just because we eat bananas, right? We share 50% of our DNA with bananas. That doesn't make us half bananas. Good one, mate. Transitional forms. As evidence that Darwin's theory is correct, that humans and chimps evolved from a common ancestor, we would expect to find something that is half monkey, half man. Yeah, there are some half monkey mans out there. These intermediate stages where one species evolves into another species are called transitional forms. Because evolution is said to have occurred in the past, we have to look at paleontology, the science of the study of fossils. Okay, go check out my grammar. No, just joking. To find evidence on the history of life. Well-known French paleontologist Pierre-Paul Grasset. Was he in relation to Neil deGrasse? Or is that a different name? Tyson, isn't it? I don't know. Jibber jabbering. Get to the point, boy. Naturalists must remember that the process of evolution is revealed only through fossil forms. Only paleontology can provide them with the evidence of evolution and reveal its course or its mechanisms. We would expect to find that the proof of the theory of evolution would be readily available in the fossil evidence. The fossil record should reveal millions of transitional forms as life gradually evolved from one species to another. Darwin understood that evolutionary theory was dependent on these transitional forms. He wrote in on the origin of species. Why, if species have descended from other species by fine gradations, do we not everywhere see innumerable transitional forms? Why is not all nature in confusion, instead of the species being, as we see them, well defined? As by this theory, innumerable transitional forms must have existed, why do we not find them embedded in countless numbers in the crust of the earth? Yeah, good question. Okay, this is all true. If species have descended from other species by fine gradations, do we not everywhere see innumerable transitional forms? Why do we not see them? Why is not all nature in confusion, instead of the species being, as we see them, well defined, as by this theory innumerable transitional forms must have existed. Why do we not find them embedded in countless numbers in the crust of the earth? Fossils. In the fossils, right? Darwin acknowledged that the absence of intermediates put his theory in doubt, but he attributed their lack to the scarcity of fossils at that time. Good excuse. And he had faith that they would eventually be found. However, nearly 150 years later, the situation has not improved much. After scientists have searched diligently for a century and half for evidence, we now have over 100 million fossils catalogued in the world's museums, covering 250,000 different species, which should be sufficient to give an accurate picture of our past. Since paleontology holds a key to our history, does it reveal the gradual progression from simple life forms to more complex? Did we find the millions of transitional forms that would be expected of evolution? Okay, scientists believe they found one in 1999 with Archaeoraptor. Is that some sort of dinosaur? Flying one or running one or something? Archaeoraptor. Look that up. The scientific community, including National Geographic, been told about them. I don't trust them. Yeah, well, whatever. Okay, proclaim that they have found the missing link between carnivorous dinosaurs and modern birds, though it was quickly exposed as a fraud. Okay. A Chinese farmer had glued together the head and body of a primitive bird and the tail and hind limbs of a Dromaeosaurus dinosaur. Yeah, so he's trying to make $1, was he? Okay. Cheeky little Chinese guy, right? Stars L. Olsen, curator of birds at the National Museum of Natural History. See how people try to hoodwink others? Oh, just put this skull of this bird on this dinosaur, glue it together and make out that, yeah, this is what it looked like, way back 2 billion years ago, whatever. Okay, got caught out, boy. Stars L. Olsen, curator of birds at the National Museum of Natural History at the Smithsonian Institution, stated that the feathered dinosaur was pictured as simply imaginary and has no place outside of science fiction. He criticised the magazine for publicising this forgery. Oh, boo, National Geographic, for publishing a forgery. Maybe they just didn't really know, or maybe they did. Oh, this will make good news. Good fodder for our magazine. He criticised the magazine for publicising this forgery, saying National Geographic has reached an all-time low for engaging in sensationalistic, substantiated, then you had to read son, tabloid journalism, and he added, the idea of feathered dinosaurs is now fast becoming one of the grandest scientific hoaxes of our age. Aside from feathered dinosaurs, many other supposedly missing links have been debunked. For example, a Berkeley website claims that there are numerous examples of transitional forms in the fossil record, providing an abundance of evidence for change over time. The only example cited as proof is the Pachycetus. The website labelled Understanding Evolution for Teachers describes Pachycetus as an early ancestor to modern whales. How can scientists tell this? According to the website, or the Pachycetids were land mammals, it is clear that they are related to whales and dolphins based on a number of specializations of the ear relating to hearing. In an accompanying illustration, paleontologist Phil Gingerich depicts a swimming creature with its forelimbs on the way to becoming flippers, claiming that it is perfectly intermediate, a missing link between earlier land mammals and later full-fledged whales. Although the body he drew does look like a very convincing transitional form, his conclusion was based on only a few fragments of a skull. Not a single bone of the body had been found. Once a more complete skeleton was discovered, it proved that Pachycetus looked nothing like the creature he imagined. Okay, the creatures that Gingerich was looking at were simply different animals with similar hearing ability, and his conclusion was merely unscientific speculation. Sadly, this happens all too frequently among evolutionary scientists in a field where spectacular finds are rewarded with great fame, funding and prestige among their peers. Okay, that's one reason, I suppose. The other might be that they're atheist. They don't want to acknowledge that there was a creator, a God, as we call it. No. So we'll go all out to prove that there's no such thing as a God. Keep the our atheist community happy, giving them this supposed scientific fact, this scientific theory fact as fact. And so on. Many alleged missing links are based on only a single fossil fragment and the wishful thinking of their discoveries. Okay. And this reporter from the US News, somebody from there, put all this information here. Piltdown was a deliberate fraud, as the paleontologist filed down teeth from an orangutan jaw, included it with pieces from a human skull, treated them with acid to make them appear old, and buried them in a gravel pit. Okay. As far as man's supposed ancestry is concerned, the Piltdown man fraud wasn't an isolated incident. The famed Nebraska man was derived from a single tooth, which was later found to be from an extinct pig. Java man found in the early 20th century was nothing more than a piece of skull, a fragment of a thigh bone, and 3 molar teeth. The rest came from the deeply fertile imaginations of plaster or Paris workers. Java man is now regarded as fully human. Heidelberg man came from a jawbone, a large chin section and a few teeth. Most scientists reject the jawbone because it's too similar to that of modern man. And the Neanderthal man was exposed as being fully human, not ape. Here you go. And the Neanderthal man was exposed as being fully human, not ape. That's what it says in the Brita, or Aramaic translation into English of Genesis, right? Okay. The theory of the Aborigine, the Neanderthal man was a human being. He had the same sort of intelligence, right? But he didn't have that spirit of God, and he wasn't an ape. Okay, get that out of here, boy. Not only was his stooped posture found to be caused by disease, but he also spoke and was artistic and religious. Okay, because they had a lot of disease in those days. There's no doctors around, no specialists. Oh, you have bent over ISIS. Let me cure you, right? And they're prone to diseases. They die early, could die really young. Okay, and the missing link. Here we go. In May 2009, however, headlines boldly proclaimed that the scientists had finally found the missing link between animals and man. Was it a banana? Was it a monkey? Okay, let's see. One article stated scientists have unveiled a 47 million year old fossilized skeleton of a monkey hailed as the missing link in human evolution. The search for a direct connection between humans and the rest of the animal kingdom has taken 200 years. But it was presented to the world today at a special news conference in New York. Researchers say this transitional species finally confirms Darwin's theory of evolution, with some even suggesting that the lemur monkey, dubbed Ida, is the 8th wonder of the world. Sir David Attenborough said Darwin would have been thrilled to have seen the fossil, saying that it tells us who we are and where we came from. This is one that connects us directly with the rest of the mammals, he added. Now people can say, okay, we are primates, show us the link. The link, they would have said up to now, is missing. Well, it's no longer missing. It's true that Ida was an important find because of its 95% completeness and sharp contrast to earlier fossil evidence, but one of the world's leading fossil experts, Professor Jon Hurum of Norway's National History Museum stated, it's part of our evolution that's been hidden for so far. It's been hidden because all the other specimens are so incomplete. They are so broken, there's almost nothing to study, and now this wonderful fossil appears, and it makes the story so much easier to tell, so it's really a dream come true. But was Ida the missing link? Not according to Chris Beard. Different people like debunk it, right, and explain it better, prove it. He told Live Science he disagreed with some of the outlandish claims researchers made, such as the suggestion that Ida represents a missing link between early primates and humans. It's not a missing link, Beard said. It's not even a terribly close relative to monkeys, apes and humans, which is the point they're trying to make. On the whole, I think the evidence is less than convincing, stated Chris Gilbert, a paleoanthropologist at Yale University. I would definitely say that the consensus is not in favour of the hypothesis they are proposing. Paleontologist Richard Kay of Duke University added, this claim is buttressed. Is that buttressed? Buttressed with almost no evidence. Buttressed. While noting that there is actually evidence against the hypothesis, and that other important fossil primates could contradict their claims. Not only are missing links still missing, but the fossil record reveals that man arrived on the scene abruptly. In a PBS documentary, Richard Leakey, the world's foremost paleoanthropologist, admitted, if pressed about man's ancestry, I would have to unequivocally say that oh my gosh, silly Mary, need to learn how to read properly. Unequivocally say that all we have is a huge question mark. To date, there has been nothing found to truthfully purport as if a transitional species to man, including Lucy, which was just recently debunked. Okay, but they found another one, which was because Lucy is supposed to be like 3.3 million years old. They found another one called Ardi, right, which is supposed to be 4.4 million years older than Lucy. Okay, if further pressed, I would have to state that there is more evidence to suggest an abrupt arrival of man rather than a gradual process of evolving. Emphasis added. The fossil record reveals a similar abrupt arrival for horses, rendering the classic example of horse evolution inaccurate. And Boyce Rensburg addressed a symposium attended by 150 scientists, blah blah blah. He describes what the fossil evidence reveals for horses. Okay, we won't go into that much. Okay, we're going to go forward here, and there's more stuff here, more stuff here. Okay, when does this end? Okay, you can read it for yourself. The book's free online, I think. Okay, let's go and see if we can get further into this. Let's avoid all this stuff. Okay, Darwin. Oh gosh, Darwin theorized that all living things evolve from simpler life forms through an undirected process of mutations and natural selection. If a mutation, a copying error, occurred in the genes and it provided the creature some survival advantage, this benefit would be passed on to its offspring through the process of natural selection, and goes on and on and on here. Okay, there are tremendous variations among humans, from Asian to African to Aboriginal to Caucasian, but all are within the same species, Homo sapiens. Okay, so you're looking at recalling the sacredtext.com statement that we're all Africans. Mitochondrial DNA has proven that we all came from Africa, from a group of 100 people or less, right? Mitochondrial DNA has proven that 60,000 years ago, right? Okay, so we all came from we're all Homo sapiens. Okay, not apes. One lot came from Africa, the other was residing in Europe, i.e. the Neanderthal man. Okay, Darwin's theory of evolution is instead based on the concept of macroevolution. This is the inference that the small changes seen in adaptation, these variations within species, accumulate and lead to large changes over long periods of time. In macroevolution, one kind of creature, such as a reptile, becomes another kind of creature, such as a bird, requiring the creation of entirely new features and body types. Evolution opponents argue that this would be a bit like observing a car going from 0 to 60 mph in 60 seconds, and inferring that it can therefore go 0 to 6,000 miles per hour in 100 minutes and become an airplane in the process. Admittedly, this puts a tremendous responsibility on mutations to accidentally create complex new body parts, and on natural selection to recognise the benefits these new parts will eventually convey, and make sure the creatures with those new parts survive, as Stephen Jay Gould explains. Okay, and he goes on about it. Mutations. Okay, researchers have discovered that the variations we see in adaptation within a kind are always with a limit set by the genetic code. 50 years of genetic research on fruit fly has convinced scientists that change is limited and confined to a defined population. Okay, and it goes on. It's a genetics professor Francisco Ayala, and he's quoted, there's a lot of information here. Remember, Darwin proposed that everything evolved from simple cells into complex life forms. So if a fish were to grow legs and lungs, or a reptile were to grow wings, that creature's genetic information would have to increase to create the new body parts. This would be equivalent to a telegram giving rise to encyclopedias of meaningful, useful genetic sentences. Information cannot be built by mutation that lose it. Mutations that lose it. A business can't make money by losing it at a later time. And there's more information there. Okay, what's this? Okay, a bit. Another surprising difficulty involves the common belief that organisms develop favourable mutations based on the environment. For example, it's often thought that bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics, thus demonstrating that they evolve. But the website, read that again. For example, it's often thought that bacteria can become resistant to antibiotics. Yeah, heard about that. Thus demonstrating that they evolve. But the website, Understanding Evolution, produced by the University of California Museum of Paleontology and National Center for Science Education, explains how mutations function. Mutations do not try to supply what the organism needs. For example, exposure to harmful chemicals may increase the mutation rate, but will not cause more mutations that make the organism resistant to those chemicals. In this respect, mutations are random. Whether a particular mutation happens or not is unrelated to how useful that mutation would be. And to illustrate, they explain that where people have access to shampoos with chemicals that kill lice, there are a lot of lice that are resistant to those chemicals. Okay, here's an example. Say the cat, hasn't got a flea collar. My niece's cat. I have to do everything for that cat. They're not supplying, flea collars and stuff like that. So I go running around the town in pet shops. Animate here. People in New Zealand know that shop. I don't know if the rest of the world does, but they sell flea collars and pets and all that sort of stuff. So I went in there one day and I asked for a flea collar because I tried all the shampoos and carpet shampoos and whatever, but he was still dropping fleas, right? So I asked the guy, how much for a collar? And I saw the price and he verified it. He says, was it $70 or $90 something? I was like, what the hell is that? Michael Jackson's cat's or Elvis's cat's collar? For that price? He goes, that's how they are. Whereas before you used to be able to go to the supermarket and you buy a cheap $10 one, right? Keeps the cat's fleas away for a while until it rains and then all that powder washes off, whatever, right? Becomes useless. Okay, but at least it reduced the fleas. Okay, so for what the hell, $90 for a freaking flea collar? They're really milking it, aren't they? Okay, but yeah, I got this fly spray. It says on there, kills fleas, roaches, whatever. Yeah, I specifically targeting fleas. He sneaks in the room, he sleeps somewhere, right? And he drops all his freaking fleas everywhere. Dust fleas, little tiny things. I can understand, if you've got dust in the carpet, stuff like that, it's always been like that. But then you get these bigger, fat fleas with lots of blood in them, whatever, that suck you hard, Find about 3 or 4 of them on your blanket or something. Because he's been lying on it, He dropped them. He dropped his fleas and then took off. Right? So I used this fly spray. Supposedly, the flea jumping on me, there's the shirt. Sleeve. Yeah, find it. I use a spray, right? On the floor, etc, etc. And I get this funny thing, I'm being bitten alive, right? Being eaten alive. So I turn on the light, check out the bed. Damn, there's all these fleas hopping over it, in and around it, whatever. What the hell? So I go and spray it again. Have a peaceful sleep for a while. He's going to start getting eaten again. What the hell? This fly spray is crap. It doesn't work. It's not worth the money, right? We can't guarantee that anything works efficiently as they promise. Okay, it may not deliver. So try all these other different things and they don't seem to work. He just keeps dropping fleas. So I've got to get some sort of, I even give him a wash with the flea powder or whatever, right? That chemical or whatever, right? But he dries out and he comes back and he's dropping fleas again. It's just like, maybe it's a lot of crap. They know it. They just want your money. Anyway, so yeah, maybe these fleas are resistant to their stuff, so they've got to get stronger and stronger and stronger, which costs you more and more and more, doesn't it? You've got to go to like a vet. It's all targeted. You've got to go to the vet and buy their $900 flea powder or something, you know. Well, it's a bit of an exaggeration. You know, it's probably $170 or something like that. Well, this will kill them, and it probably does. It's all structured like that, probably. Okay, so to illustrate, they explain that where people have access to shampoos with chemicals that kill lice, there are a lot of lice that are resistant to those chemicals. So either one, resistant strains of lice are always there, and they're just more frequent. And are just more frequent now because all the non-resistant lice died. Or two, exposure to lice shampoo actually caused mutations that provide resistance to the shampoo. Based on these scientific experiments, they conclude that the first explanation is the right one, and that directed mutations. And the second possible explanation, relying on non-random mutation, is not correct. Get your head around that one. Here it goes on and on. Some more. What's this? The reason for rejecting Darwin's proposal. Above here somewhere. The reason for rejecting Darwin's proposal were many, but first of all, that many innovations cannot possibly come into existence through accumulation of many small steps, and even if they can, natural selection cannot accomplish it because incipient and intermediate stages are not advantageous. Embryologist Soren Lovetrop. But how do you get from nothing to such an elaborate something if evolution must proceed through a long sequence of intermediate stages, each favoured by a natural selection? You can't fly with 2% of a wing. Paleontologist Stephen Jay Gould. Darwinism is claiming that all the adaptive structures in nature, all the organisms which have existed throughout history, were generated by the accumulation of entirely undirected mutations. That is an entirely unsubstantiated belief for which there is not the slightest evidence whatsoever. Molecular biologist Michael Deaton. See, these are experts. Okay? The top Charles Darwin is an ape published in the Hornet, published in 1871. Charles Darwin the ape. Charles Darwin is a monkey on the cover of La Petite Lune, published in the 1880s. Although right, Charles Darwin cartoon published in 1871 Vanity Fair. Yeah, they were ridiculing him. Okay? He's the monkey. Okay. Yeah, because he came up with a couple of outrageous claims here about the I think it was a whale 60 million years ago or something turning into a black bear and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, they really got to him, so he took it out of the original origin of species apparently. Yeah, do your research on that one. I only read it, whether it's true or not. Go do your homework. Contrary to what Darwin suspected, scientists today have discovered that mutations do not work as a mechanism to fuel the evolutionary process. They are random instead of purposeful, and they only modify or remove information, but never add it. An essential component of the theory. Any mutation that could create a transitional form would be far more likely to doom a creature than to help it up the evolutionary chain. This was confirmed by about 150 of the world's leading evolutionary theorists who gathered at a macroevolution conference in Chicago to consider the question, are mutation and natural selection enough? Evolutionist Roger Lewin sums up the conclusion of the conference. Okay. The central question of the Chicago conference was whether the mechanisms underlying microevolution can be extrapolated to explain the phenomena of macroevolution. At the risk of doing violence to the positions of some of the people at the meeting, the answer can be given as a clear no. Okay. Okay, Michael Deaton, author of Evolution, A Theory in Crisis, puts the theory into perspective. Asked in an interview if Darwinian theory adequately explains what we see in nature, he very honestly admitted its weaknesses. The basic pattern it fails to explain is the apparent uniqueness of and isolation of major types of organisms. It strikes me as being a flagrant denial of common sense. to swallow that all these things were built up by accumulative small random changes. This is simply a nonsensical claim, especially for the great majority of cases where nobody can think of any credible explanation of how it came to be. And this is a very profound question which everybody skirts, everybody brushes over, everybody tries to sweep under the carpet. The fact is that the majority of these complex adaptations in nature cannot be adequately explained by a series of intermediate forms. And this is a fundamental problem. Common sense tells me there must be something wrong. Because this guy's an expert. The problem for scientists today is that mutations have not yet been shown to create any new features or new creatures, which explain why traditional forms are still lacking. Okay. As an alternative to Darwin's theory of gradualism, some scientists have proposed the theory of punctuated equilibrium. Okay. This theory, championed by Stephen Gould, and others, proposes that evolution happened in rapid spurts, guided by some unknown genetic mechanism, followed by long periods of stability. They suggest that species had to evolve quickly based on sudden changes in the environment, such as a flood or drought. There are difficulties with this theory as well. First, according to the website Understanding Evolution, which explains evolution to teachers, factors in the environment ... are not generally thought to influence the direction of mutation. It states that experiments showed mutations did not occur because the organism was placed in a situation where the mutation would be useful. Again, mutations have been found to be completely random and not based on the environment. So with no evidence to show that mutations could cause creatures to evolve gradually over millions of years, what is the scientific basis for proposing that they could make very significant changes very rapidly? Second, because the theory of punctuated equilibrium was proposed as a way to explain the lack of fossil evidence, there is nothing in the fossil record that would lead us to believe this was the case. Proponents of this theory suggest that evolution occurred so quickly that there isn't time to leave any fossil as evidence. Yeah, okay. This is obviously could be Ray Comfort's perspective. May not necessarily be true or correct. Okay, some people would debunk it. Oh, Ray Comfort doesn't know what he's talking about. Whoever wrote this doesn't know what they're talking about. And get to the real book. Well, it's explaining the real book, isn't it? What Darwin was saying. Okay, and it goes on here. So much evidence apparently by experts. Even Charles Darwin admitted the incredible complexity of the eye in On the Origin of Species. To suppose that the eye, with all its inimitable contrivances for adjusting the focus to different distances for emitting different amounts of light, and for the correction of spherical and chromatic aberration, could have formed by natural selection, seems, I freely confess, absurd in the highest degree. That's from that man himself. Okay. For admitting different amounts of light, this is to do with the eyes, for the correction of spherical and chromatic aberration, could have formed by natural selection, seems, I, Charles Darwin, freely confess or admit, absurd, totally ridiculous in the highest degree. Okay. Darwin went on to say that he believed the eye could nonetheless have been formed by natural selection. Okay, he still spoke his nonsense. At the time, though, scientists believed that the first simple creatures had rudimentary eyes, and that as creatures slowly evolved, their eyes evolved along with them. What, so they're saying they had eyes before they had these eyes? However, that's not what they have found. Surprisingly, some of the most... Oh, look, it's a creature with many eyes. However, that's not what they have found. Surprisingly, some of the most complex eyes have been discovered in the simplest creatures. And it goes on. Okay, Riccardo Levi-Setti, Professor Emeritus of Physics. Okay, he's got some recognition there, right? He goes on about the trilobites eyes. Okay, another thought. If you find it hard to believe that there was an intelligent designer, give this some thought. Man, with all his genius, can't make a rock. Can he? He can't make a rock? A leaf? A a flower, a living singing bird, a croaking frog, or even a grain of dead sand from nothing. We can recreate, but we can't create anything material from nothing, living or dead. Not a thing. Did you realise that if we could simply make one blade of grass without using existing materials, we could solve the world's hunger problem? If we could make a blade of grass, we could then create a lot more grass, feed the green material through a machine that does what the common cow does, and have pure white full cream milk, then smooth cream, delicious yogurt, tasty cheese, and smooth butter. Ooh, love all of those. But we can't make even one blade of grass from nothing, let alone giving it the ability to reproduce after its own kind, as regular grass does. We have no idea where to begin when it comes to creating. If that's true, how intellectually dishonest is it to say that this entire incredible creation in which we live came into existence with no intelligent designer? So it's basically saying there, if you can get a blade of grass, right, and emulate it and create another blade of grass without using the blade of grass, right, then you are the man. But you can't do it. Okay. So there must be an intelligent designer, be it what we call God or some alien conglomeration. Right? That's what I'm open to. Okay? Because of different things that I've researched through my personal research, right? Personal findings and understandings, whatever. Right? Okay. One contradicts the other. Okay. So I've got to sort out which is this guy lying or is he telling the truth? Are they lying and that guy's telling the truth? Or is he lying and they telling the truth? Yeah? So we'll research. Probably never ever find the actual answer, but I'm going to keep striving, keep pushing to find it, right? For my personal self. Okay. I can't teach anyone else who don't want to listen. I can't teach anyone else if I haven't researched it and experienced it myself and come to the realization. Yeah. Can I make a blade of grass without using a blade of grass? Okay. And you produce milk, yogurt, cheese. Yeah. From nothing? Come on, man. Yeah, okay, some future period not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace throughout the world the savage races. At the same time, the anthropomorphous apes, as Professor Schaffenhausen has remarked, would no doubt be exterminated. The break will then be rendered wider, for it will intervene between man and a more civilized state, as we may hope that a Caucasian and some ape as low as a baboon, instead of as a present between the Negro or Australian and the gorilla, and blah blah blah. While the above quotes seem to as nebulous as one of the prophecies of Nostradamus, close studies reveal Darwin's point. He is predicting that civilized races would replace savage races. Okay. The gap between savages and the civilized races will become wider, like the gap he saw between the white races and the ape. That means that there will be no longer a closeness such as one he saw between the Negro and the gorilla. Okay, yeah, it reminds me of one claim. I don't know if this was Ravi Zachariah or somebody like that. Somewhere along those lines. Said that reading the Origin of Species, the first line, he's talking about the black man, Darwin, and he's outlandishly racist, right? Saying that the black people, the African, is subhuman to the white man. But go do your research, go have a look at it yourself, and don't take my word for it. Yeah, that he was a racist. You know, like and apparently in L. Ron Hubbard, founder of Scientology, his autobiography, he basically reveals himself as a racist against the Africans. And supposedly Gandhi was to say, well, us Indians are better, got better housing and all that, and blah blah blah. Outlandishly racist against the Africans. Okay. Okay, but here we go. He was saying that blacks were closer to gorillas than the whites were. Who could deny that this is a blatantly racist statement? Particularly when contemporary society says that just saying or even putting the N word in print is racism, right? Yet modern admirers of Darwin try and justify his racism by saying that he loved the Negro. Yet he was racist but he loved the Negro? Yeah, you haven't had your Wheaties, boy. And that he spoke kindly of the intelligent. Add some sugar to your Wheaties. He wrote during his voyage on the Beagle, I never saw anything more intelligent than the Negroes, especially the Negro or mulatto children. Okay. Read it again. That means it will be no longer be a closeness such as the one he saw between the Negro and the gorilla. He was saying that blacks were closer to gorillas than the whites were. Who could deny that this is a blatantly racist statement, particularly when contemporary society says that just saying or even putting the N-word in print is racism? Yet, modern admirers of Darwin try and justify his racism by saying, oh, he loved the Negro, and he spoke kindly of their intelligence. He wrote during his voyage on the Beagle, I never saw anything more intelligent than the Negroes, especially the Negro or mulatto children. Okay? After reading Life with a Black Regiment, Darwin wrote the author to thank him heartily for the very great pleasure which it gave him. I always thought well of the Negroes from that little which I have seen of them, and I have been delighted to have my vague impressions confirmed and their character and mental powers so heavily discussed. He despised proponents of slavery, referring to them as the polished savages in England, while saying of a black lieutenant that he'd never met anyone a more civil and obliging man. Okay. Charles Darwin believed that the black race was closer to the gorilla than the white race, but he thought that they were friendly, well behaved and intelligent. He's talking about the black man, not the gorilla. His attitude was similar to that of a man who likes trained dogs. He thinks that they are friendly, well behaved and somehow extremely intelligent. Well, at least I think he's not talking about the gorilla. Okay, it's interesting that a number of atheists have agreed with, I guess this is Ray Comfort, or whoever wrote this book, him and his belief that Darwin was a racist. They said, I feel no compelling need to justify Charles Darwin's racism. And why do you assume that Darwin's racism was shaped by his belief in evolution? The man lived at a time when blacks in many Western nations were still owned as chattels, when creationist anthropologists freely speculated that the different races were separately created species, a view Darwin undertook to refute. The idea of races arranged on the ladder from lowest to highest, generally with one's own subgroup on top. Okay, you get that? The idea of races arranged on a ladder from lowest to highest. Yeah, we're superior, you're subhuman. Okay, Christian identity, that's one of their things. Okay, it was a commonplace among creationists of his day. And, of course, Darwin was racist. He lived in a society in which racism was the norm. Okay? It was the norm. Everybody was doing it. However, after much research, I guess this is Ray Comfort, do concede that you won't find anything in Darwin's writings that would indicate that he in any way felt blacks were to be treated as inferior or that his views of them were due to their skin colour. So this Rabbi Zechariah, or whoever, forget who it was, saying that, you know, in the very first lines of The Origins of Species, he proved that he was a blatant racist. Okay, so that guy is probably lying. This guy is saying that he's lying. Whoever that person was is lying. Okay. However, after much research, whoever this guy is, do concede that you won't find anything in Darwin's writings that would indicate that he in any way felt blacks were to be treated as inferior, or that his views of them were due to their skin colour. Maybe he's saying, you know, that he's not saying that they were to be treated as inferior, or that his visit blah 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 blah. Okay, he just thought that they were closer to gorillas than whites. Okay. Well, if you're in Africa and you're running amongst gorillas, yeah, of course you're closer to them. Imagine if you said that on prime time TV, you would stir up a hornet's nest. Yeah, when the way you walk down the street, you get smacked over. Then imagine trying to justify your belief by saying that you despise slavery and that you think black people are intelligent or friendly. Yeah, it's just a butt kiss. Yeah, kiss up, sugar up. You could also add that your convictions that they are closer to gorillas than whites has nothing to do with skin colour. So what do you get at? Okay. What's this? Evolutionary scientist, atheist and author of Darwin, the Indelible Stamp, The Evolution of an Idea, got himself into a very hot water back in 2007. But like that guy from Kramer, you know, who's getting hassled, and he says you, and use the N-word, and his career was over because he'd said it to a black man who was heckling him. That's what the people do, they heckle, you know. He couldn't handle it, he lost it and called him an N-word. According to the Associated Press, the independent newspaper put Watson on its front page against the words, Africans are less intelligent than Westerners. says DNA pioneer. The Sunday Times reported one of the world's most respected scientists is abroad in extraordinary row after claiming that black people are less intelligent than white people. James Watson, a Nobel Prize winner for his part in discovering the structure of DNA, has provoked outrage with his comments made ahead of his arrival in Britain today. Like Darwin, Watson's belief had nothing to do with his skin colour. He said that we should not discriminate on the basis of colour, because there are many people of colour who are very talented, but don't promote them when they haven't succeeded at the lower level. He just thought white people are more intelligent than blacks. For that, he was labelled a blatant racist by many in contemporary society. Okay, here we go. So this is definitely Ray Comfort in his perspective. An atheist wrote and said, "What do Darwin's personal views on race have to do with our modern understanding of evolution? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, Ray." Wonder who that was. Could it be Matt Doyle-Hunty? I don't know. Could be anybody. Okay, nothing. Absolutely nothing, Ray. Even a fool knows this. Indeed. Darwin's racism has nothing to do with the credibility of the theory of evolution. It should stand or fall on its own merits. However, the theory itself teaches that all men are not created equal. However, the theory itself teaches all men are not created equal. Darwinian evolution doesn't say that human beings are made in the image of God and endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. It rather states that they are mere animals, some closer to apes than others, and it therefore opens wide the doors to racism. An article entitled "Americans Still Linking Blacks to Apes" on ScienceBlog.com presented the findings of research done by psychologists at Stanford, Pennsylvania State University and the University of California, Berkeley. Co-author of the study, Jennifer Eberhardt, said it's a legacy of our past at the end point of evolution as a white man. I don't think it's intentional, but when people learn about human evolution, they walk away from the notion that people of African descent are closer to apes than people of European descent. Yeah, I saw a movie, what's his name, Sean Penn, and the guy that played Jesus, Passion of the Christ, whatever his name is, I forget what it is, Mel Gibson's production. He was a deserter, and they found him in his village, and they marched him back to question him, all that sort of stuff. And they actually walked past these people. They look like Solomon Islanders. And okay, I'm not being racist, I'm just being honest here. He did look gorilla-ish, right? Yeah, he looked like, he was very, very dark, and he did look like a gorilla. But I'm not saying he was a gorilla, right? Because that's blatantly racist, isn't it? I'm just saying that's an example that I saw. A thought came in my head. Wow, the guy, he looks like a gorilla. I've seen Fijian, white, half-breed Fijians. Yeah, these guys were huge, and they look like gorillas, right? You know, isn't there a term that you use? Oh, look at that gorilla, because the dude's huge. You know, he's like got hands about. He's got a hand like, 10 times bigger than my head. Look at what's that black guy off the Green Mile, Coffee. Big guy, man, big guy. His hands are huge. Huh? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So there's no racism intended there. Yeah. Say what you will, think what you will, but yeah, it's just a thought I had. Okay. No racist. Look, I'm a brown fella. Why would I be racist, right? Yeah. I don't believe in that crap. Okay. So all men are created equal, even women. Okay. Because we're all human. Hello. The more racist are the Christian identity. We say, well, you're subhuman, you're a mongrel, you're a mams, all that sort of crap, which I've come across, right? There's no question that Darwin's racism was directly tied to his theory of evolution. This is, okay, he's got here, Jennifer Eberhardt, it's a legacy of our past at the end point of evolution as a white man. I don't think it's intentional, but when people learn about human evolution, they walk away from the notion that people of African descent closer to apes than people of European descent. I wonder, where did they get that notion from? There is no question that Darwin's racism was directly tied to his theory of evolution. This is clearly demonstrated in the Descent of Man. Okay, so that's probably where it is. On the first pages, that's what that Rabbi Zechariah, who he was, I forget their name, got it from, right? Where he makes the case that man's intellectual abilities were the byproduct of natural selection, and that there are clear differences in the mental faculties between the men of distinct races. Okay, and they also say look down on women. Yeah, so like Christian identity, say, oh yeah, the size of the skull, even certain scientists, archaeologists, whatever, the skull is bigger or smaller, or the Negro, right? So he's less intelligent. All that sort of crap. Go do your research. Don't trust my words. Go do your research. You'll find it on Google, whatever. Oh, it must be on the internet, so it must be true. But go have a look and do the research. Look at the latest history books, whatever. Yeah. Anthropologists, archaeologists, whatever. Right? That state there. Okay. Oh, look. Yeah. Of these denominations. Yeah. We are more superior because the Negro skull is smaller, ours is bigger, so we've got more intelligence, all that sort of stuff. Okay. Yeah, honesty is my best policy. I'm not making this crap up. Right. As I say, keep stressing all the time. Go do your research, your own personal research. Don't take my word for it. You know, look at the evidence. Let the evidence prove itself. Establish the facts as facts, etc., etc. Before you come at me and go, oh, yeah. Unjustly. Yeah, anyway. Okay, so it goes on about sexism, I think. Yeah, woman being inferior. Okay, woman can have a look at that one. Okay. Okay, this is outlook on woman. Ooh, gonna stir up the feminist faction out there. Ooh. Okay, when pondering marriage, this is what Charles Darwin says, not what I see, not what I believe. Okay, I'm around woman 24/7, right? Wisdom male, so yeah, alpha male contact, all that sort of stuff. When pondering marriage and having children, he noted, Charles Darwin noted, children, if it please God, constant companion and friend in old age, who will feel interested in one, talking about the woman here, object to be beloved and played with. Okay, children, if it please God, constant companion. When pondering marriage and having children, he noted, children, if it please God, constant companion and friend in old age, who will feel interested in one, object to be beloved and played with. Better than a dog, anyhow, home and someone to take care of the house. Charms of music and female chip-chat. Okay, try to get your head around that one. Darwin believed that women were not as competent as men and less intelligent. Oh, come on, bro. I know some real brainy chicks, real tough chicks too. They'll smack your face and boom, you know. You know, call you bluff and boom. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, but they are better than a dog. Come on, man. This famous student. Okay. Okay. Probably thinking, oh, you're pro Ray Comfort. No. I'm looking at two sides of the coin. This is Ray Comfort's perspective. Okay, this is what he's saying about Darwinism, right? Okay. What's this? It's surprising how soon a want of care or care wrongly directed it leads to the degeneration of domestic race. But excepting in the case of man himself, hardly anyone is so ignorant as to allow his worst animals to breed. Okay. Adolf Hitler took Darwin's evolutionary philosophy to its logical conclusions. For example, he wrote in Mein Kampf, which means my struggle, such a dispensation of nature is quite logical. Every crossing between two breeds which are not quite equal results in a product which holds on, and then it goes on and on and on. The stronger must dominate and not mate with the weaker. He's the perfect race thing, wasn't he? Superior race. If such a law did not direct the process of evolution, then higher development of organic life would not be conceivable at all. Blah blah blah. Okay. Yeah. Have you read Mein Kampf? Supposedly it was written by the Jesuits. He just signed his name to it because he liked it. So they say, but they say, historians say no. He wrote it while he was in prison. Okay. Oh, you shouldn't be reading that. It's an anti-Semite book. Come on, man. Don't go blah 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 about Hitler and his Mein Kampf. We never read the thing. Read the Oxford version. Listen to the audio. Pretty good. Yeah, and then you work out, from the historical records of what he got up to, what he said, what he did, whatever. You come to a conclusion, a realization, as I did. But you're going to get crap for it. Oh, you're anti-Semitic. You're a Nazi. You're racist. Come on, bro. Just because you can't see me doesn't mean, some people say, oh, you're white, you're racist. Hello? I'm a Seaweed Brown dude, I just see the historical records, done the personal research, and came to the conclusion, what he was really like. Because it's been put out there, by people that are, got the PhDs, whatever, scholars of it, historians, whatever. Okay, you got a few amateurs that don't know what they're talking about, you know. But go with the PhDs, guys with the PhD, the recognised historians, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, okay. Okay, this guy, American paleontologist Stephen J. Gould, wrote an article acknowledging Hitler's evolutionary views. Okay, goes on. Okay, more information. Okay, in Hitler's view, the German people were the superior race that deserved to rule the world. Here is his hit list, which reveals how he distinguished between the different races. Notice his evolutionary progression from human to ape. Nordic, close to Aryan, Germanic, Mediterranean, Slavic, Oriental, slight ape. What's the Slavic? Close to half Aryan, half ape. Oriental, slight ape, preponderance. Black African, predominantly ape. Jewish, Phoenician skull, close to pure ape. Okay, he had a dislike for Jews, obviously. Just as he did with evolution, Hitler also used Christianity for his own evil political ends. Okay, did he? Did he really? Right? Okay. Did he not say in one of his speeches or whatever, in one of his Mein Kampf, that he could see that certain people were trying to destroy Christianity, get rid of it altogether, right, and install their religion, right, their religious belief system, right, their plans of New World Order, all that sort of stuff. Okay. He was a Roman Catholic, and he was trying to preserve Christianity. He's trying to stop these certain factions destroying it, getting rid of it altogether. Okay, and it's funny how he's put here, Kampf's put here all this, right, supposedly from Mein Kampf, whatever, when there's videos on YouTube of black people that lived, or they know of black people that lived in World War II in Germany, right, they were black, they were like treated. Okay, they just had laws, they couldn't marry a German, all this sort of stuff, blah blah blah, right, but they were basically left alone, and the poor Jews were the ones that were taken away and put in death camps, work camps, labour camps, whatever, all the Holocaust happened to them. But it's not just them, there's other people there, there's half-breeds, Polish, Hungarian, blah blah blah, whatever, maybe a few JWs in there, Seventh-day Adventists that opposed it, and so forth. Okay. Yeah, you really need to do the research and find the truth, right? Because history is where's this book? I can't remember exactly what it says, but something like history is rewritten by terribly biased people, right? Yeah. Okay, that book is way down the bottom here. I can quote that for you. Okay, this is what where did he somewhere? Victor N. Alexander was saying in his on his website that I resurrected. Yeah, here it is. History is written by terribly biased people. Okay. Religious broadcasts don't preach about the true Bible. The Bibles in the Western world are full of errors because they've been translated from the Greek and Latin and blah 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 blah. Okay. So basically, in sum, history is written by terribly biased people. Okay. The people who win the wars, they're the ones who tell the story. The victorious tell the story, not the ones that lost. Okay. Okay. Some more information there. It goes on and on and on. Darwin and atheism. Okay. Don't dwell on that too much. Okay. I think I might end it here. Give you time to think it over. The incredible harmony in creation proves beyond a doubt to any thinking mind that there is a creator. Now you just have to figure out if this creator requires moral responsibility from you. Ray states, let me explain why I believe there is an intelligent designer, why this designer is the God of the Bible, and why I believe he holds each one of us morally accountable. Before I do, I want to quote someone I greatly respect for what he said. Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller is such a committed atheist, he puts a line through, in God we trust, on each dollar bill he touches. But consider his statement about Christianity. If you believe that there's a heaven and hell, and people could be going to hell or not getting eternal life or whatever, and you think that, well, it's not really worthwhile telling them this because it would make it socially awkward. How much do you have to hate somebody to believe that everlasting life is possible, and not tell them that Steve was stuck in this jacket. Okay. I mean, if they believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that a truck was coming at you, and you didn't believe it, and that truck was bearing down on you, there is a certain point where I tackle you, and this more important than that. Okay, let's read that again. If you believe that there's a heaven and a hell, and people could go to hell, or not getting eternal life, or whatever, and you think that, well, it's not really worth telling them this because it would make it socially awkward. How much do you have to hate somebody to believe that everlasting life is possible and not tell them that? I mean, if I believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that a truck was coming at you and you didn't believe it, and that truck was bearing down on you, there's a certain point where I tackle you, and this is more important than that. Ray says he heartily agrees with him. Stay with him. He deeply cares about you and where you will spend eternity. Okay, because he's a Christian, right? Believes in God and all that sort of stuff. Okay, and he goes on here. Some more. What's this? Okay, now think of the four major religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. Which one should you choose? Before you decide, here's some information that will help you determine which one is the wisest choice. All of humanity stands on the edge of eternity. We are all going to die. Yeah, it's a fact. Eventually we're all going to die. We will all have to pass through the door of death. Yeah, okay, true. It could happen to us in 20 years or in 6 months or today. True, it's a possibility. You never know when you're going to die, or how you're going to die. For most of humanity, death is a huge and terrifying plummet into the unknown. Yeah, some a lot of people are terrified. They don't want. Nobody. It's a human thing. Nobody wants to die. I don't want to die. Do you want to die? Yeah. Yeah, it's probably that unconscious fear or conscious fear of what's on the other side waiting for you. Okay, some will like butter it up and say, oh, you know, all your relations will be there welcoming you, all that sort of stuff. Because we are psychics, we are mediums, we know all this stuff, we talk to spirits, all that sort of stuff. They'll pay us $80. Okay, so what should we do? Okay, he goes on about the parachute jump, the leap. He goes on about Christianity. Okay, he's wandered off. Okay, here's where I said the earlier statement, he uses entrapment. Okay. Okay. So stay with me and remember to let fear work for you. Okay. The leap. After we die, we have to face what is called the law of sin and death. That law is what is known as the 10 Commandments. Okay. Some Christians say you don't need to live by the law anymore because Christ died on the cross and he presented a new covenant, you know, some new laws, all that sort of stuff. Seventh-day Adventists say no, you must honour the Sabbath and all this and all the 10 Commandments, all that sort of stuff, right? Difference in perspectives and, you know, understanding, all that sort of stuff. So let's look at that law and see how you will do when you face it on Judgment Day. See, if you watch a Ray Comfort video, say he approaches me and he says, this is what he says, right? He's talking to me about God, all that sort of stuff, but this is what he says. He uses a certain method, a technique, right? Nothing against the guy, he's from New Zealand. Okay, he's doing what he's doing because he believes in it. Okay, so let's look at that law and see how you will do when you face it on Judgment Day. Yeah, I've seen lots of those pamphlets scattered all over the road, down Queen Street, Auckland. Have you loved God above all else? Okay, that's what he's going to ask you. Is he first in your life? He should be. He's given you your life and everything that is dear to you. Do you love him with all your heart, soul, mind and strength? That's the requirement of the first commandment. Or have you broken the second commandment by making a God in your mind that you're comfortable with? Where you say, my God is a loving and merciful God who would never send anyone to hell. That God does not exist. He's a figment of the imagination. To create a God in your mind, your own image of God, is something the Bible calls idolatry. Idolaters will not enter heaven. See how he's working? Have you ever used God's name in vain? Yeah, here it is again. As a cuss word to express disgust, that's called blasphemy. And it's very serious in God's sight. Okay, this is breaking the third commandment, and the Bible says God will not hold you guiltless who takes his name in vain. Right? Okay. So that's like an unpardonable sin, guiltless, right? You get done for it. If you go, oh, God, you know, and all that sort of stuff, you're blasphemed. Okay. But there's a Roman Catholic doctrine, dogma that says, everybody knows of it, if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, say it has no power, all that sort of stuff, then yeah, that's an unforgivable, unpardonable sin. So could you say that God forgives all sins? If that's a sin that you'll never be forgiven for, eternally. Work that one out. Okay? So yeah, logically, common sense tells me he doesn't forgive all sins. Right? Right here, look. The Bible says God will not hold him guiltless. What does that mean? You're accountable for it if you take his name in vain. Okay? It's probably a dual meaning, right, in the original language. Taking his name in vain. Right? Cussing, using it in a cussing situation, swearing, abusing it. Or the other, where you take it in vain, like you're an actor, a role player, you pretend to be Christian. Oh, I'm a good guy, you say I'm a Christian, and then 10 minutes later you come in my face and say, what the hell are you talking about that for? That stuff is crap, blah blah blah. Hey bro, you just told me 10 to 20 minutes ago you're a Christian. You're just a Christian because it sounds good. Well, that sort of stuff, right? Okay, have you always honoured your parents? Implicitly? What's that? Learn how to read. Implicitly, and kept the Sabbath holy. Okay, what he doesn't realise is this is how you're looking at the Gregorian calendar, and you're pinpointing as a Seventh-day Adventist what day that you are supposed to go to your Seventh-day Adventist church, and your Sabbath is on, right? You're using a Julian or Gregorian calendar from the Roman Catholic Church, right, to determine what day that is. Because you're looking at the Bible and you're going, okay, 6 days labour, 7th day rest, right? So that's your Sabbath. Okay, but originally it may not have been according to that Gregorian calendar, right? Okay, because they had a lunar solar cycle. The Hebrews, the Aramaic, whatever, Israelites used the Creator's calendar. You have Genesis 1:4, right? The sun and the moon created as lights, lights during the day, lights during the darkness, nighttime, and all that sort of stuff, right? You could have it completely wrong. If they had, if the old Jews, old Hebrews, whatever, had a 10-month calendar, right? Creator's calendar that said, okay, we see the, the first of the month, right? It's not a Sabbath and all that sort of stuff. It's just a indicator of the first day of a new month, right? And then you got to work so it's not a Sabbath day, right? And then you got to wait 6 days, work 6 days, and then on that 7th day, okay, that's the Sabbath. Okay? You have a preparation day before that. Say on let's say on the 6th, right? 6th of that month, 7th of that month. Sorry, you have the preparation day. Go look at your Bible and it talks about the preparation day. Okay, that's the day before the Sabbath, before the sun goes down and the Sabbath starts, right, in the evening. That you got to do all your work, your conversations in, political, whatever. You make all your food in advance and stuff like that. So on the Sabbath, it's like all praise, it's all focused on God, right, for what He's done for you, right? Okay, so when the Sabbath comes along, as I just said, you focused on that, and it ends at dawn on whenever the Sabbath's over, right? You understand? Okay, so according to a certain website that's worked it out, right? The first is the new moon, okay? That's not a Sabbath, and you go 6 days, right? And then you got preparation day, and then the Sabbath comes, right? So you got the first new moon day, and then the 8th, right, is the Sabbath, right? Then you do 6 days, and then it's work as usual. You had the preparation day, and then you have the Sabbath. Okay, 8 plus 7 is 15, isn't it? Okay, then repeat the process. 15 plus 7 is 22. Right? Do the process one more time, because a month has 4 weeks in it, doesn't it? Round about, right? Sometimes you have a leap year, whatever. Blah blah blah. 28 days in February, every 4 years supposedly. I haven't heard of that for a while actually. Yeah, so yeah, on the 29th, right? Okay, it's near the end of the month, because they had 30-day months, right? Okay, well actually 29. Yeah, 29. Yeah, it consisted of 29 days. Yeah, okay. So you look up in the night sky, right, and you see the crescent moon, okay, and it indicates that there's a new month coming up, right? So it should merge into the full moon on the 1st. Okay, yeah, you have 29 days, and then you have like the first. It's kind of weird to understand, right? But you have it this extra day, because if you can't see that crescent moon on the 29th, you've got that extra day to see it. Okay, they give you that additional day, and then the first should be a full moon, right? You can see the full moon, okay, which is the indication of a new start of a new month, and so forth and so forth, right? And then the cycle carries on. Okay, so if you're not following the true Sabbath from these ancient days, what are you doing? You're false. You're lying. You're fooling yourself. You're fooling other people, right? Okay. So he goes on about the Sabbath. If you have not broken the fourth and fifth commandments, have you ever hated someone? Yeah, times. The Bible says whoever hates his brother is a murderer. Yeah, why? Why? Because you embarrass him, right? And all the blood flushes up into his face and he goes all blushy, all red, right? That's what it's considered as murder. You're not actually stabbing a dude to death, right? That's, yeah, embarrassing him is like considered as murder, because all that blood's come rushing to his head and you embarrassed him. You really need to do your research. Okay, the seventh is you shall not commit adultery. But Jesus said, whoever looks on a woman to lust after her has committed adultery with her already in his heart. That's what Christians believe. But if you look at the Hebrew word for this, it's actually mind, because you have thoughts in your mind. Your heart's just a muscle, pumps the blood, oxygen around, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. It doesn't have its own mind, it doesn't think, right? It feels, you know, that's the concept, right? But it's all to do with the mind. You have a thought in your mind, right? You look at a hot chick, wow, she's hot, ooh, imagine what I could do with her, and you start to fantasize, right? That's what he's calling adultery. It starts in your mind. Because, like, look at Genesis, I think it's 4:7, where Cain's tempted. He does the wrong sacrifice, and he says to him, why is your frown, why is your smile turned upside down, why have you got a frown? Why are you like that, right? Why are you sour? If you know what's right and pleasing to God, you would have done it, right? And you would have been joyous, happy with it, right? Okay? He sees sin as, let's say the devil, sin is waiting at the gate to enter, yeah, and he wants to master, he wants to conquer you, but you must master it, conquer it, right? Yeah, Rabishu in the Aramaic, right? The let's say the devil, the accuser, the who wants to make you sin. Plant that seed, right? Nurture it, make you sin. Once it's nurtured, it's the seed is nurtured. You commit that sin. You know wrong and right, right and wrong, whatever. Yeah. So he says conquer it. Same as I think it's James 1:13 says the same thing. Don't say you're tested by God. God doesn't test. You're tested by your own desires, your own lust, perversions, whatever. Right? Okay. So you've got to sort it out. Resist the devil, and he'll flee from you. Okay. That's Christian theology, isn't it? James talking there, or whoever talking there, right? Okay. So yeah, it's in the mind. Even the brief of his name. I've got a book here somewhere. States the same thing. It's the prefrontal lobe here, right? You have the thoughts and all that sort of stuff, right? Because where does this thought come from? It comes from an ethereal, doesn't it? Or is there something whispering in your ear, following you around, whispering in your ear, saying, do this, do that, no, you know? You got to get away with it. It's enjoyable, it's fun, whatever. So you go, oh yeah, okay. You're convinced, you're coaxed by it, right? So you go and do it, knowing right and wrong, right? Once that thought, that seed has been planted and it's nurtured, it grows, doesn't it? It flowers, doesn't it, right? Yeah, and then you sin. That's when you're guilty of sin. Okay? So there's an ability to, between, right, that tempter, right, and this doorway to your mind, that you can stop that, right? You can choose. You can choose. But because we're so enticed by this thought coming in and this, oh, possibly, oh, it could be, yeah, that sounds great, and you go and do it. So looking at a woman with lust in your mind, because does a heart have eyes? Have you ever seen a heart with eyes? Oh, I've never seen a heart with eyes, right? It starts in your mind. So you're looking at that beautiful girl, hot chick, because she's hanging out every week, got the miniskirt way up here, whatever. You're lusting after her in the mind. Go check out the Hebrew. It's the mind. It's not the heart. This is just the pump the blood around muscle. Yeah, it's got no thought of it. So, yeah, get real. Yeah. See, okay. So then he asks you, okay, have you had sex out of marriage? He's got you. Because if you have, everybody's prone to lust, or you know, show by manhood, the chickies love you, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, you go and do it, right? Come on, man. It's human nature, the animalistic nature, Neanderthal man, whatever, right? And yeah, okay. So you go and do it. So I ask you, have you ever looked at lust or had sex outside of marriage? Most people say, oh, yeah, unless they're a complete virgin. If you have, this is the Ray's reply, you've violated that commandment. How many lies do you think you've told in your whole life? You're not a perfect being, so you must have told a lie somewhere, a little white lie, whatever, right? Okay, so he's got you there. You say yes, he's got you there. Have you ever stolen anything, regardless of its value? If you have, then you're an abomination to the Lord. You're a lying thief. The Bible tells us lying lips are abomination to the Lord, because He is the God of truth and holiness. Have you coveted, jealousy, desired, violation of the 10th commandment? Okay, and it goes on and on. The Bible warns that all murderers, idolaters, liars, thieves, fornicators, and adulterers will end up in hell. Okay, he's reading from a modern copy of copies, translated from the Hebrew text through the German, through the Latin, the Greek, through the Old Germanic, Old Latin, into modern day English, right? Okay, so from the King James Version, they've put the word hell, which is probably a John Milton concept to scare the people to the church. They put money into the pew. Okay, see, like you probably go, what the hell? Oh, what the hell? But see, like this is the truth. The congregation telling you the real truth. No hype and fluff. None of this bullcrap. Right? It's telling you exactly what it says in the original languages that were used by the old apostles, the prophets, the scribes in the Old Testament, and those in the New Testament who spoke those original languages, who wrote it down from the original manuscripts that were hidden and preserved, right? So I'm not telling you all this fluff. Oh, better listen to my channel and subscribe. You're going to go to hell, right? You're going to burn in hell, and all that sort of stuff, because it doesn't say that. Look at the Bible, right? It says words like Sheol in the Hebrew. Sheol, what's that? The grave. Hades, which is mythical. It's a Greek abode of the dead. Like many mythical people went there to save somebody else, all that sort of stuff, right? So it's mythical, isn't it? You've got Gehenna, which is supposed to be a place outside the city of Jerusalem where they burnt the refuse, bodies of thieves, whatever happened to them, right? And animals that died. It was constantly burning, right? Okay, so you need to go and do your research. Don't just go fluff because some Christian church pastor told you, oh, this is how it is, and it says it in the book. In the modern Americanized version, which all stem from the Roman Catholic, pushed through the American Bible Societies and similar. Okay, go back and find the if you can find the original manuscripts online. Listen to my rants, right, on my channel. Because honesty is my best policy. I stand by that, right? Okay, I might make mistakes because I'm human, it's forgivable, and I'll correct them. I strive to correct them. But that's the whole idea. Bringing it out to you, the truth out to you. None of this hype and fluff and BS. Right? Because you're deserving of the truth, aren't you? I've been through that. I've experienced people trying these dirty little tricks on me, deceiving me, telling me this and that, and they can't even live by it, because they're trying to convince me, in order to convert me, in order to control me, to get me to their church, right? And then convince me, put the money in the plate, every week. All that sort of stuff. And believe what we say. There's the old saying, even if it proves to be a lie, believe it anyway. It's like, what the hell? See? So that's the whole point of this new congregation, is to tell you the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. There's going to be naysayers out there. People go, oh, this is exposed. Oh, he's like this. Oh, they've never met you, but they got all that information. Are they psychic? Are they mediums? They got direct contact with God? They talk to the dead? All that sort of crap? Nah, they're just making assumptions. Make stuff up, because what am I doing? I'm exposing your so-called truths, your religions, your denominations as fraudulent, deceiving, trickery. Come on, man, I've personally experienced it. I got a mate that does it all the time. Oh, that's a good, interesting subject. Hop in the car. Oh, I'll go talk to my friend. He's a Jew from Israel. Just got back. End up in the church. Does he live here? Is this his house? You know, or I'll shout you McDonald's, right? Yeah, I'll shout you. Get in the car, we'll go to McDonald's. End up in the church. Is that not trickery? Deceit? When I say to him, what happened, bro? Never mind that. Ha 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 ha. You know? That sort of stuff. Tell me, don't commit adultery. Don't marry the divorced woman. Right? And the guy does it. And he wonders why he's got problems with his relationship. His wife don't want to know about Jesus anymore. You know? He's married a divorced woman with a child. Come on, man. You know? I'm not saying that, I'm all holy roller. But I've strived to it. You know, I'm sick of these like actors and role players coming at me saying blah 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 blah. You're this, you're that. You know, and then cussing at me. You know, because I've touched on their, I've exposed their belief system, or their beliefs that they hold dear, so dear. You know, they believe to be true. I've exposed it, and then get all snotty. You know, we had good conversations. What happened, bro? So what I learned from a lady. Oh, cheers, kudos to this lady out there. Hopefully you might be watching this one and remember who I am. I asked you a question in the tea room at Unitec in Port Chef. Why do people react like this? And she going for a master's, master's then a PhD in what's that word? Cognitive science or something, therapy. It's because there's something up in the brain, right? You've hit a raw nerve. You know, the belief system that they hold so dear, you've exposed it, and people, it's a natural human instinct, they don't like to be told that they're wrong, so they get snotty at you. So that's why when I'm talking to them they call me the devil and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, because I'm presenting them the truth. They don't like it, probably because possible brainwashing. Like one guy said to me, it's not what my Bible says. Get rid of this one. It's the devil. Throw it in the bin. And he's just all mental. You know. He's another person saying, "Oh yeah, I've read that when it was online, the Aramaic New Testament, va.com. I've read it." And they come back and say, "Well, how can you read what I've read? It's taken me years and years and years to read and absorb and fully understand in 5 minutes and understand it better than me." And then they ban me from their Christian chat site. Yeah, see how it works? Anyway, so in the Aramaic it actually says John 3:16. I can show it to you here, I can read it to you here, John 3:16 in the original Aramaic New Testament, Galilean Aramaic, okay, from the original manuscripts, John 3:16. Writing in here is not that great, but I'll find it. Give me a minute here. See, because you've got to understand, you've got to know the original languages, don't you, and the idioms that were used. Okay, 16. Where are we? We'll go from. Okay, 15. Go 14. John 3:14. And just as Moses lifted the darkness by the light of life, this is how you should glorify the Son of Man, or Jesus the Messiah, so that every human being who believes in him does not go to oblivion, okay, except that they may have eternal life everlasting. For this is how much Allah, it's not Allah, someone's in a Christian thing the other day, see the social chat site, whatever, sees Allah and try to boot me out there, right? She's now explaining to them it's the title for God in Aramaic, right? Allah, sometimes spelled with 2 L's like Allah, sometimes with 1. Okay, it's the title for God, not his name. Okay, he loved humanity, that he gave forth his only begotten Son, his real Son, his only Son, that whosoever believes in him does not perish. Okay, defined, there's a footnote here. Okay, we have a look at it. Where is it? In the page, 3:16 footnote. Okay, I'm trying to find it here for a second. 3:16, literal Aramaic idiom, go to oblivion. That's what perish in that language means, go to oblivion, non-existence. Okay, because God is merciful right to the very end, even his name will tell you that. Okay, he's merciful Okay, right to the end. Right, so he's, basically he's with you right to the end, and then you judge them, whatever. So you go to the lake of fire, burn up, or you go to oblivion, you perish, or you get cast out into utter darkness. Okay, to be ignored, all that sort of stuff. You can see what's going on in paradise, and you're really bitter, gnashing your teeth, crying out. You're in torment. You're in that hell, right? Okay, seeing that what you could have had, but you thought you knew better. Okay, so that's what it means in the Galilean Aramaic. Perish, go to oblivion, non-existence. Okay, think of it like this. Think of it like this. Okay, if you have everlasting life, right, eternal life with God, because you did all the godly things, followed Him, believed in whatever, right, His Son, whatever, right. So you're in paradise, and you've got the promise, the reward of eternal life, everlasting life. You live forever, right? Okay, you must have a counterfeit. You must have an opposite. Okay, because if you have a complementary, like a complement, like light, night, say day, night, or day, day, night, love, hate, male, female, up, down, right? One complements the other. It's like yin and yang. Bruce Lee said that, his concept, his belief of the understanding of yin and yang was, it's not two, right? It's not two, it's one. One complements the other, one merges into the other. Okay, light, day merges into night. Doesn't automatically become night, does it? It slowly merges into night. Night slowly merges and becomes day. It's like that, right? Okay, you understand it? That's what he believed. It's complementary. So with this biblical everlasting life and eternal punishment, right? Oblivion, perishing, whatever. Okay, you have to have one complements the other. Right? You have a counterfeit. Like you've got God, Jesus, right? The positive, and you've got the negative, the devil and his minions. You understand that? So you would have, if you have eternal life, everlasting life with God, then you must have a negative to it, or a counterfeit, right? Let's say negative, right? Which is going to oblivion, non-existence, because on the left you have eternal life, existing forever, right, with God, and then you have non-existence, right? Yeah, you get it? Okay, think on that one for a while. Okay, so this guy is using entrapment. I think in the eyes of the Lord, this guy is using entrapment, right? Okay, to catch you, right? Because if get this, if Ray Comfort come up to me and he said all that, right? Have you ever, the 10 Commandments? Yeah. Have you ever lied? And I said no. He'd go, you're a liar. If he said, have you ever had sex with a woman or perved at a woman? No. He'd say, I'm a liar. Have you ever taken God's name in vain? I say no. He'd say, you're a liar. See, because if I'm aware of what his entrapment is, I'm going to not, use it. I'm not going to fall for it, am I? Because I know better. Because I realised what he's doing, right? Okay, because he's trying to base it all on the law, the 10 Commandments. Okay, right? And that's entrapment. He's trying to catch you, right? Convince you, convert you, whatever, right? Okay. Maybe he doesn't want you to go to his church, but maybe he's trying to set you up. He tried to lead you that way. Okay, you understand? Okay, so I'm aware of it. I'm aware, like I'm aware of this friend that comes and says, "Oh, we go to my friend's house because he knows he's an Israelite. He knows all about that." And then we end up in the church, or buy McDonald's, end up in the church. Stuff like that. He's trying to force me to his way, right? Okay, I met. This is quite extensive. Sorry about that. No apologies. I met a bunch of Koreans from the World Church Society. Lovely people, right? The girl was nice. The deacon was nice. All that sort of stuff. And then they turned up with their pastor and 7 other people and all this sort of stuff. I told them I'm into the ancient Aramaic, right? We went right back to the old languages, manuscripts, whatever, for English. They says, oh, that's real nice, but we're not really interested in that. Follow our way. You come to our church. So me and my daughter did, and got on like a house on fire until they says, oh, how about getting baptised? Oh, you get re-baptised, whatever. Okay. Because they had that bit of trust with them, right? But what they were doing was they had a motive. Oh, I just lied. Body language says I'm lying. Believe that if you want. Okay, hands are over here. I'm not scratching my ears and all that, using that body language. But I just lied. Okay, yeah. So they pick us up, take us there, feed us, bring us back every time, right? They weren't interested in what I had to say. Okay, and then they said, "Oh, baptism." Yeah, so we didn't get a full baptism. It was just in the shower, right, at their church upstairs office. Okay, and then the lady who wasn't Korean, yeah, she said, in the name of the Father, yeah, understand that. Name of the Son, yeah, got that. And the Holy Spirit, you got that. But then what got me was, he said, and in the name of An Han Song or An San Hong. Right? And I was like, hang on. I only know the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? As everybody does. So I questioned her on it. Is that the Korean name for Jesus? No. That's Jesus reincarnated. He came back in 1937 as An San Hong and all this. So I was like, oh, we're out here, daughter. Let's get out of here. This is crap, this is rubbish, sort of thing. Yeah, not to be mean to them, not to be nasty in front of them. So I never want to go back, right? Yeah, because they was basically saying that this person was the fourth in the Godhead. Well, here's Jesus come back reincarnated, right? So I went online and looked at Google, and there's this video of him preaching, giving a seminar or something way back in 1937 or something, right? And he says, "No, I'm not Jesus. I'm not God." Same as Haile Selassie to the Jamaicans. "No, I'm not God." And they said, "I just doesn't know it yet." Come on, man. The guy, your leader, said he's not Jesus, right? He's not God. He's just a man. And they're trying to say, well, Jesus reincarnated. He came back. See, because he did the 33, he did or 30 or something, he did the 3 years of ministry that Jesus did. So that makes him Jesus. Well, that makes him as much as Jesus as Sai Baba claimed. Or he went to the temple, Hindu temple at 12 or something, and Jesus went there at 12 or something like that. So he's Jesus. See how dumb and nonsensical that is, Like, you're trying to create this new theology to suit, you're twisting it, and you're trying to get people along to it, You're pulling the fluff out, the wool over their eyes. You're blinding them, right? You're telling them all this crap that isn't biblically factual or whatever, right? Yeah, it's a twist, isn't it? It's all about, for some reason, I don't know, it's cognitive or whatever, they get this thing pumped in their head by the preacher or whatever, right? Brainwashed, as some people say, right? So I figured out through, what was it? I think it was Shaka Amos, him explaining it on one of his videos. And then I saw this video of, I actually did a video of Men in Black 2, where they had a 7-foot alien, right? And the morgue, and his face opened, and inside is this little alien with all these levers, pulling all these levers, but he's slowly dying, right? Because he's the controller of that giant alien. Okay? So he basically, what Shaka was saying before I found that video, and compared it, was it's not you living in your head anymore, it's somebody else, it's something else who's living in your head, controlling you, pulling your levers. Your pastor, your Christians telling you, this is what the Bible says, da 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 da. Go there every week, pump. Okay, you haven't studied or anything, and you think, oh, I've got to go save some souls. So you run out there, and you're parroting it, blah, 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 blah. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're living a half-pie life, right? You're an actor, you're a role player. Look at me, I'm a Christian. But you've never done any research, you're just going out there and parroting it, right? Because something or someone else is living inside your skull. Okay? That's what it boils down to. Okay? So you got to break free. What was that verse in the ancient Aramaic? Being born again. You must be born from above, born from the head. Okay? Different to the Christian theology. You must be born again, get baptized, all that sort of stuff, right? Okay, you got to have that renewed mindset. Okay? So you're born from above, reborn from the head. So you have this you receive the Holy Spirit, filled with the Holy Spirit, led by the Holy Spirit, right? And you become Christ-like, not walking around with sandals and beard and going, I'm Jesus, all that sort of stuff. When you're not, it's just fakery, right? But you got that same sort of mindset, so you're open to that suggestive by the Holy Spirit, all that sort of stuff, right? Okay, it's not just we must be born again, dunk yourself underwater and you know, you fail. Yeah, it's a renewed mindset. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this guy's he's trying to trip you, man. Like, I'm telling you the truth from personal experience and from what I can see. Okay, you're like, oh, you're an atheist, you're this, that. No, I'm not. I'm looking at two sides of a coin. Okay, do I have a coin on me? No, I don't. Okay. Yeah, don't have a coin on me. But yeah, you get the concept of it, don't you? Yeah. Two sides of the coin. And there's an edge. These people are using the edge. Okay? They're using one side of a coin and they've got an edge. Oop, just did Illuminati thing there. Wasn't intended. Okay, I'm not in the Illuminati, so don't go there, bro. Yeah, you got one side of a coin, right? That's the one side they're looking at. They got tunnel vision, whatever, right? And then they got an edge. Okay? I'm looking at both sides of the coin without the edge. You get it? Okay, so that's what I see. He's using a form of entrapment. Okay, he goes on and on. He's totally gone off. What's his name? I've forgotten his name now. Oh my gosh, ding dong, ding dong. Charles Darwin. Okay, he's gone off. Right, goes on about God right to the end, I suppose. Okay, and goes on about Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam. Okay, Christianity. Why is Christianity different? Aren't all religions the same? Let's see. In Christianity, God Himself provided a parachute for us, and His word says regarding the Savior put on the Lord Jesus Christ. See, this word here is Greek, right? Meaning hail Zeus, Eosus, right? Hail Zeus, and you've got the Latin, which is Isis, apparently. Okay, right? Isis from Egypt. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is quite long. Hopefully it's not about 3 hours long and you fell asleep 10 minutes into it. Okay, and he keeps going on about Jesus, right? It's a hell of a long book. When does he stop going on about Jesus? Not that I'm saying that he should. Okay, it's quite good. Okay, just okay, I've gone right back up to the top. Have I? Okay, go down here. Okay. Okay, he's gone back to it by the looks of it. After all that, where did he stop? Okay, where did he stop? Where did he stop? Going on about the origin of species. Okay. Okay, he's done quite well by doing a lot more on. He's just pointing out about Christ and all that, belief in him, why I should believe. Okay, did he stop doing that? Quite a way back. Okay, must have done a few chapters there on it. Okay, can't find out where he's stopped. Probably way back up here somewhere. No, I'm not really sure. Okay, if you read it yourself, you'll figure it out. Okay, where he stopped preaching and went back to the origin of species. So it's probably better to go and read the actual origin of species, right? This is only Ray Comfort's take on it, his perspective on it. There's probably a lot of truth in there, right? Okay, you be the judge of it. Go get this book, find out for yourself what it actually said. You know, do your research on it. Okay, because this is Ray Comfort's take on Charles Darwin's The Origin of Species. So I'm going to leave it there. It's probably about 3 hours long, this video. Should I split it into 2, 3, 4? Okay, yeah, so hopefully you liked that. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. You know, these subscribe buttons. Having problems with YouTube at the moment. I can't add videos, playlists, or whatever. I don't know what it is. No one out there wants to tell me. Maybe I was hacked. Oh, my big ears. Yeah, these are 8 ears. Yeah, so I don't know what the problem is there. So you just subscribe to my channel. It could be because I just put this little logo down the bottom and subscribe. It's already on there. I don't really know. Maybe someone out there can give me some advice, help me out there. Where did I go wrong? Because it was always good, hunky dory, and all of a sudden I couldn't put other videos up on it. Let's say you can look at those after you've seen these ones. Yeah, so yeah, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Whether this be on the clever sausage or the couch Kumaran. Could be on both. Okay, yeah, I get a few C's, a few views, nothing spectacular. I'm at 50 on one YouTube, and 7 on the other, and 1 on another one. Yeah, got too many of them to deal with, I suppose, so cut one down. Yeah, but I appreciate it. Kudos for those 50 and those 7 who were, yeah, took the time to have a look at my rants and subscribed. Yeah, all love to you. Much appreciated. Yeah, I'm trying to get to, like everybody else, 1,000 subscribers and whatever the hours are, because that's on a branded account. Yeah, okay, slow process. I'm probably doing something wrong here. Maybe because someone, like a guy did before, helped me out. But then because it wasn't conforming to his belief system, right, or whatever, he gives me hassles. Not real bad hassles like trolls, but yeah, come across them now and again. Kudos to that dude for giving me the advice. Yeah, so I try to make some improvement. You see, a lot of my stuff is fluff and fuller. Yeah, probably is. He's probably right. Okay, so yeah, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, tinkle with that bell so you get notification of the next exciting clever sausage video or cut scuba one coming out, so you don't miss out. Tell your neighbour, tell your stranger, tell your church, hey, this dude's exposing us. What you said is incorrect. Liar, yeah, whatever. And this guy is revealing the truth. Yeah, that you're putting the wool over my eyes, all that sort of stuff. Okay, kudos. We'll see you next time. Much love. Maria Allah bless. Maria Yahshua Mashiach. Jesus the Messiah. Okay, catch you later.